Welcome, everybody.
So this is In the Company of Charity, which is a podcast of the Daughters of Charity, of which we are Daughters of Charity.
Listen, people, I just ran a marathon, so there's no brain cells left.
That's Liz, not, yeah, that is Sister Liz, not Sister Elizabeth. I don't run marathons.
Well, good to see you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about the marathon. It's good to see you. Tell us about it.
Great to see you. The marathon went very well. Again, God's providence all over this thing. We were just talking with Sister Alex earlier and how the origins of this was it's a fun run. I'm just running with people in Brownsville and no drama, very low logistics, etc. And then where we are now, which is years later, chip time, timer, 5K with awards, medals, shirts, everything. We had the fire department there doing EMS, the big arch. They had a crane with the American flag waving in the wind. It was so legit. I was like, if I weren't currently running a marathon, because I start at 5 a.m., right? And the 5K chip time, etc., bibs, all of that started at 7. I was like, if I were not running a marathon, I would love to run a 5K like this. It was so fun. It was so fun.
I'm just cracking up because I'm like, this is like another language. I'm like, chip times and bibs and shirts
and
like, numbers and yeah, but like you say, I mean, it has become something now, right? And so this is a fundraiser for Proyecto Juan Diego, where you work, and so that's exciting. So what's the difference between running a marathon? This is how stupid I am about this, and a 5K. Like a 5K is like a walk around the block or something. What?
3 miles. It's 3.1 miles, and the marathon is 26.2.
Okay.
So, it took me 6 hours, which is a long amount of time, but we stopped, we ate pickles, we had goo, we took walk breaks. It was delightful. I was never alone, not for 1 second. I had people running with me the entire time. And I had 2 banker ladies. They tag teamed. One did the first half marathon and the other did the second half marathon. And they just talked the whole time. They just talked the whole time, and it was lovely. And then the 2 Jesuit priests, of which Father Brian, came and joined for the second half, and Joe, who's one of their novice seminarians. I don't know what he's called. He's not a priest yet, but those 2 guys came and also talked the entire time, which was so lovely because I was huffing and puffing and just trying not to hurt too bad.
I have a hard time talking just walking up the 3 flights of stairs. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I can't even imagine. Like sometimes either you or one of the other sisters will be out biking or something, and they're like talking on the phone. They're like, "Hey, I'm out biking. Thought I'd have some time to talk." I'm like, "How do you even do that?" Like, you guys are so healthy. I mean,
clearly not biking very hard. No, I don't know.
Well, we haven't had a really good athletic talk in a long time,
I know. Where are our marathon runners? We need another marathoner on the podcast.
Oh, my goodness.
ASAP.
Oh, my goodness.
If you know anybody, guys, out there, please send their name to us.
Oh, my goodness. So this is a fundraiser, which is very exciting. And so did it go well?
Yes.
Yeah.
It went well by all accounts. We're still taking checks. If you'd like
hint,
to donate,
hint,
please
hint,
don't hesitate. We already hit $25,000, which is phenomenal. We're so pleased, and we're still going. There's actually a lady at one of our sponsor works in Chicago who's going to run the Chicago Marathon and do the fundraiser for Proyecto as part of it. So Sisters on the Run has not ended, people.
Yeah.
It's not over.
I just find it kind of humorous that your big fundraiser is a marathon or a 5K with marathons mixed in or whatever it is you call it. And my biggest fundraisers at Daybreak and Jericho Way were sleeping.
Sleeping
sleeping
outside.
outside.
Come
Granted, it was
on. There
sleeping
was
outside, but it just isn't that ironic.
Look, that fundraiser is raising like over a hundred
Oh,
thousand
over
dollars.
200. I
So,
think she's,
if I could get people to sleep outside,
yeah.
if we could make money doing
So
that.
yeah, let's give it a shout out. Daybreak, the folks in Macon, Georgia, are so committed to a project that's just enormous. We need to get Sister Teresa Sullivan on to talk
Yes,
about
please.
Daybreak because it's just amazing. And if you don't know anything about it, look it up. Daybreak, part of DePaul, USA, in Macon, Georgia, and they should be sleeping out next month. February is the sleep out month, coldest
Oh,
month in
that's
Georgia,
great.
and they sleep out on a Thursday night and sleep out money
Raising money
for,
for the
yeah,
unhoused.
yeah.
That's
So, and
amazing.
it's been 12 years now, 12 or 13 years they've been doing it. And yeah,
Mm.
so it's pretty amazing. But I just find it very ironic that, you know, fundraisers
Yeah.
for our works. I ask people to come and sleep
Running or
and you
sleeping.
ask them to run. We just do what we do, like we just try to give it our all. Yeah.
Exactly, girl. That is
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you,
So,
I got some running going on here too, like some comings
uh-huh.
and goings. There's
People
oh,
running out of the
so people
seminary and
running
getting
out
on
of the
mission.
seminary. Yeah, so we're having our sisters, those who are ready, will be leaving. Be sent on mission March 1st in St. Louis and March 2nd in California at Los Altos,
Wow.
and it's very, very exciting. They've worked so hard, and they're just amazing, amazing women. We're so blessed, so blessed. And so, anyone
Mm.
who's out there discerning, it's a good life.
There are still
Yeah, and we
people
got
becoming
rooms.
daughters of
I got
charity
10
and
bedrooms. I need
sisters.
to fill them. I'm happy to, to have new folks come and yeah, I'm just so excited for them, so excited for us, for the community, for
Mm.
the company around the world. It's 153 or 157. I always get the number mixed up, but it's a little under 160 seminary sisters being sent out around the world, really,
Mm.
throughout the year. But our sisters will be leaving. Uh, they'll be going on the retreat at the end of February, and then they'll be leaving on March 1st and March 2nd for their new missions. So we know the date, but we don't know the place yet. So maybe one of our next intros will know where they're going. Yeah. So
Yes.
just keep them in your
Yes.
prayers because this is a big step. This is like the penultimate experience for a daughter of charity to be sent on mission, because this will be the rest of their
Absolutely.
lives. They'll be coming and going and serving God and finding Christ in the poor
And
and the poor in
learning and
Christ. And yeah,
growing.
so it's just amazing, so amazing. So um,
Yes. Well, and one of the gifts of the seminary is to be steeped in Saint Vincent and Saint Louise and who they were and where they were, and I think that's really a key for what we're going to hear today from Sister Kara Davis about the Vincentian Session.
yeah,
We haven't talked about that in a long
no,
time.
we haven't. It's interesting. She mentions how we go in these sessions. This particular session was for sisters 7 to 10 years vocation, which is a very specific time as well, which she talks about. It's really always interesting to me the phases that we go through. The stages of formation, initial formation, and yeah, and we know formation is a lifetime, right? So I went on the
Mm-hmm.
seminarium, which was a formation session for sisters who are directresses in the seminary, right? Of our seminary sisters, there'll be a visitatrix encounter or session, where visitatrixes, who are the provincials, the heads of our provinces, they'll go for formation, So it's just such a beautiful practice and you know, I always say, like, you get a trip to the Motherhouse, you really don't get a trip to Paris. It's like, oh, you're going to Paris. Like, yeah, but
Yes.
but you get there and you're not worried about that. It's you're just so steeped in the internationality of the company and the formation and the just the incredible gift of this charism to the church and to the world, and you can't help but fall in love with it all over again. You know.
Mm. It's such a gift, and Sister Kara had great experiences, as those of us who've been privileged to go over there had as well. And uh, I think it's just always fun to share stories because everybody's experience is slightly different. But in the same way, we go to these places and we learn this history, and pray and be open to the way that God is speaking to us in those experiences and through our charism. These saints who have passed on but are very much alive and living and breathing in each one of us. And so I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode with Sister Kara. And please leave us a review or give us a little star there on Apple Podcasts. I don't know how else that you can put it out there, but maybe send it to a friend. This is how we get people to see the good stuff happening here on the podcast and the good guests. So thanks very much, you guys. Enjoy it. Welcome everybody back to the podcast. I am here with a good friend and sister in community, and welcome to you, Sister Kara Davis. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Great to be here, Sister Liz. Thanks for the invitation.
Tell us where you are, what you're doing for those who don't know you.
Sure. So I am in San Antonio, Texas. I've been here for a little over 3 months, so still kind of in transition, but the last couple weeks, things have really been moving with like ministry and study. So I'm very excited to have kind of like a schedule for my day, which is exciting. I started my Spanish course last week and started doing some volunteer speech therapy at the early childhood centers that are connected with Ascension, Daughters of Charity, Ascension to Paul. It's a big umbrella. We won't go into that. But yeah, so things are starting to come together with ministry and studies and community life. So yeah, it feels good to have all those things come together.
And it's nice to have a neighbor to the north that we can go and visit. It's aside from Reynosa, which is right over the border where our sisters in Mexico are. You are the closest Daughter of Charity house to us in Harlingen. And in fact, you and one of the discerners, friend of the community, are going to come down to run part of the race with us for Sisters on the Run. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming down to your hood. My first time in Texas was when I drove here and moved. So, so I'm excited to see more of Texas and to see you. Sorry.
Yes, of course. Come on. Of course. So let's dive into the Vincentian Session. This is like inside baseball for all of the people listening to learn more about this aspect of the Daughters of Charity community. So tell the folks at home, what exactly is the Vincentian Session and what was unique about your experience, the one you went on?
Sure. So my understanding of the Vincentian Session was, it started many years ago as this like a formation piece for Daughters of Charity to, come to the Motherhouse and really experience the birth of our charism, the birth of the community, really walk in the footsteps of Vincent and Louise, throughout France, not just in Paris. So going to where Vincent was born in his early life, and St. Catherine Labouré too. Can't forget about her. And so yeah, it's like an intensive formation experience. With the actual places, the spaces of grace, if you will, that you read about and you learn about in initial formation in the seminary, because there's so many books about them. But until you walk into the Motherhouse Chapel for the first time, it hits you as like, this isn't just something in a book that people have talked about. This is a real space, and wow, my heart is beating really fast, and it's not just a place, it's the place, it's our place. And so I mean, my understanding of the Vincentian Session is, the goal is, formation and, like our our history and our company, but also to experience the internationality of the company, because it's international and it's at the Motherhouse. And, we had 60 sisters from all over the world, and 8 language groups. And you asked, what was unique about the Vincentian session that I participated in. It was for sisters specifically who are 7 to 10 years vocation. And so that means we have all made vows for the first time, but we're still in initial formation. And so that's a unique, I guess, demographic of the international community that you don't always get to experience in your province. But on the international scale, I mean, it's hard to put into words, just getting to know my sisters from all over the world, in that this is our history and our spaces. So, yeah, I don't know. Did that answer it?
That's a great start. I
Okay.
think the fact that you mentioned the Motherhouse Chapel is so cool, because when you go to France, there are huge, beautiful churches. I mean, and you get to see some of them when you go. I mean, we went to Notre Dame. I don't know if you were able to go, with the construction and everything. It's kind of a tough time, but um, there's so many beautiful places. And then our Motherhouse Chapel is like this little gem that if you were walking down the streets of Paris, you could pass it and just completely miss it. Um, but there's all day, every day, people just coming in, praying. It's a sacred space. It's, even though, you see people coming in and coming out, and so it is kind of busy in that sense, but it's so quiet and what would you call it? Just sacred. And it has that sense to it. And so being in that space, I think, is so special, because it's not just our chapel. It belongs to the people. It belongs to the pilgrims and to Paris and to France. People see it as a very special place, even though, we would say it's maybe a hidden gem in the streets of Paris. But it's really something. And the poor come, people, regular people, business people, anybody, is welcome. And it is neat to see our own sisters talking with people in their own languages and welcoming them.
Yeah, and I something that, because you described like the hustle and bustle of the Motherhouse Chapel with all the pilgrims, because it's packed, and it may not be quiet sometimes. There's babies screaming and toddlers running, but it's what something that really astounded me was, we were in that chapel a lot, and I found like my prayer, like there were moments when we were praying with the pilgrims, like having Eucharistic adoration or Vespers in the chapel with the folks from all over. And it was this, praying for everybody's intentions as the basket goes up, was very powerful. And then there were also moments in the late evening when it's completely quiet. The pilgrims go home, and it's this a different kind of sacred time, where it's just the sisters in there. And sometimes it's just a handful of sisters. And I've found my heart moved in the both and of those experiences, the hustle and bustle of the devotion of the people, but also just the quiet stillness of those late night hours, especially when they shut the lights off, when everyone's in there praying, then the lights go out. It's like, oh, but they don't kick you out. You can still pray in there. But I just enjoyed both for different reasons, and I think that shows the gift of Our Lady and the message of the medal. Because what made it the miraculous medal, it was the faith of the people and the miracles that were experienced. And so, yeah, but then we also know that Mary came in the middle of the night, and that quiet and that tenderness, with Catherine Labouré. So I just found myself experiencing both and being grateful for just everything that the Motherhouse Chapel has to offer.
Hmm. Talk a little bit about the sisters that you met from the international side. I know with our English speaking groups, you would think, oh, English speakers, but that's like from a lot of different places that speak English. And I'm sure there are some who are in different language groups that were able to speak to you in English, or maybe you worked on your Spanish a little bit. Talk about that.
Sure. Yes, there was a lot of much language diversity among all the sisters there. But our English speaking group, it was surprising to me. There was only like two or three of us that English was our first language, and so when we would come together, even for our small groups, there would be some translation happening between like Vietnamese and English, or um, I I would learn different words from the sisters in India that aren't part of our American English lexicon, but they use them there. Oh, here's one: we feelingness. I had never I had never heard of that word before, and we were describing like solidarity, togetherness, community, and she's like, "We feelingness." And I was like, "What?" And I'm the secretary, and I'm like trying to get down what everybody's saying. And I was like, "Say it again." And she says it again and again. And I'm like, I don't, is this a word? And I was like, well, describe it. And that's when I discovered like this is a unique word that was created. Like that's how, sorry, I'm a speech language pathologist. So anytime like I learn a new word and like how it comes to be, it just makes me very excited. That was a word that India taught me. And I try to use it as much as I can here in America to see what will happen. But yes, we do different accents. But what I find, even if you're speaking many different languages or many different versions of English, it's communication at its core. Like we had no problem communicating, whether it was through gesture, through dance, through even like sound effects. There was a sister from France who like she didn't speak any English, but she would just like make noises and point to things, and I knew exactly what she was saying. So especially you get to know each other, and we were mostly all millennials, so we had a pretty good grasp on technology. So we would use like translation, devices, and just share different things with one another with Google Drive and all kinds of stuff and WhatsApp. So I think that kind of adds to the experience when, you can, like, when we use AI and technology, does it make it less personable? I see it as, a tool that can really help support, those relationships. So I thought we did a nice blending of that and how we got to know each other.
And you guys had some presentations and different speakers and things to kind of hit some of those formation notes. So it's a long day, right? You're getting up and prayers together and meals, and it's pretty structured time
It's
there at the Motherhouse.
very structured. Like they gave us an agenda booklet on the first day. I'm like counting how many pages it was, like almost 50 pages, with the day-to-day breakdown, the schedule for travel, the schedule for a normal day, and if we're going to change the time for mass. And I appreciated having all that information. Like you could see the big picture, and then you could break it down day by day. So yeah, very well organized, and you could just see the intentionality in the program, like, and that just is something that I'm so grateful for. That the sisters who were in charge of organizing it, preparing it, just the care that went into the preparation, just made it that much smoother for us to just show up and experience it, like give our whole hearts to it. So I'm so grateful for everybody who put so much work into preparing the session.
What was it like for you going to the birthplace of Vincent and some of the famous stops along the way? Were there certain areas that touched you more than others?
Yeah, it wasn't like more or less touching. It was just like different touches, if that makes any sense. But I will say what touched me most about the Berceau, Vincent's birthplace and hometown, were the mosquitoes. They touched me all over my legs.
Oh
I
God.
I don't know if it was the time of year we were there, but those mosquitoes, they were very hungry, and maybe they were like, ooh, special blood. I don't know what it was, but everybody got eaten alive. That it's the big joke. But that didn't like dull our enthusiasm or our love for the experience. But something that the Berceau, it's in southern France. It's very, it's a completely different culture than Paris. And something that I really appreciated about it was experiencing Vincent's culture. Like his country people, is down to earth, homegrown farm people. It's very rural, and just the liveliness of the people. One of our last days there, they had some, I guess, folk dancers from Gascony, that part of France, come and not just perform and sing and dance and play instruments, but they got us up there too, and just seeing the joy of the people, and just not just the silliness, but just like the just joking around. Like I could see Vincent doing that, and that was something that really touched me. And just kind of getting to know like what we know about his personality from like his writings and whatnot. I could see his spirit in the spirit of the people in Gascony today. So that was one of my favorites. Just being able to, experience the culture and yeah, just be where he was as a child. And because we know our childhood experiences are so formative, and just being in that space, even with the mosquitoes, it was really one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, here's a guy who had so much different life experiences. He came from this very earthy, farm area, countryside. And then he knew well enough, or had good social skills to be able to work with, talk with, collaborate with all kinds of people, and yet still had that sort of down to earth way about him, where he would talk to the Vincentian priests and brothers, in the way that made sense for them and what they needed as men in community. And then to see the way he was with the sisters, and a little bit more like gentler, a little bit more inviting, shall we say, in a lot of ways. And so it's so neat to see the roots of that, and then to start to reflect on your own experience, and where God's path has been for you. What did that do for you in your call? I mean, I could go on and on about what it did for me, but this isn't my episode. This is you. Like what was your sense about it? And
I do think I'm still unpacking it, and I hope I never get done unpacking it, quite frankly. I Another unique piece of our Vincentian session is that it occurred within the 400th anniversary of St. Louise's Lumiere experience. And while we were there, we were able to venerate the actual parchment where she wrote her experience, her light of Pentecost, for our listeners at home who may not be aware, when she had this moment of clarity and prayer on Pentecost, and where she didn't know what she was doing, and she was just in a lot of anguish about different aspects of her life, but had this peace and this calm. And this answer to her prayer. And it was so profound for her that she wrote it down, and she folded it up in a piece of parchment and kept it close to her heart. And that piece of parchment still exists. And for many, many years, it belonged with the Congregation of the Mission, the Vincentian priests, in their archives. And then recently, it was given back to the Daughters of Charity in our archives. And so when we had our archival visits, we were able to be with, it's like a relic, I guess. It's a piece of parchment, but just knowing what that experience was for Louise personally and what it gave birth to in the community. Um, I'm still going back to that experience. We did our visits in language groups, so our English speaking group of 20 something sisters who speak many different languages, we were told you're going to go with the Lumiere, and you are invited to sing a Holy Spirit song in veneration. And we all looked at each other like, what are we going to sing, and everybody had a different song. And so that was part of the challenge with the different cultures within the English speaking groups, is we did not know many of the same songs. And so it was like, well, which song do the most sisters learn? And those who can't, can they learn it? And so when it was time for us to sing, it was a song I didn't know. I think it came from India, but it didn't matter that I didn't know the song. And I think that was the spirit, just saying, like, it was the fact that we were there together, and our hearts were beating as one, with Louise, and we also were in St. Nicholas church where she had that experience. And so that was also very profound. Like, they're saying, like, she might have been here. We don't know exactly where she was in the church when she had this experience, but it didn't matter because we like scattered around that church, and I'm like, one of us is in where she was.
Right.
And they happened to have Eucharistic adoration while we were there. I don't sure it wasn't planned, but another just very powerful moment was all of us praying together in silence before the Blessed Sacrament in that space where Louise had such a profound experience. That I think something, you asked the question, like, what are you going to keep unpacking? I think this Lumiere is something we've all known about, like we studied in the seminary. Like, yes, Pentecost is a big deal for us. But within this 400th anniversary, and, being able to venerate the parchment, be in the church where it happened, has just reminded me, like, God's going to give us what we need. And when we have moments of doubt, when we have moments of anguish, the light shines through, and we may have to wait for it. But when it happens, we know. And we know in such a big way that we're going to write it on a piece of parchment and put it in our pocket until we die. Like,
Yes.
so I pray for that. And I'm grateful that Louise had that experience. And so I guess my prayer moving forward is just to make room for the Spirit to move. And because it may not be such a profound experience that you're going to write on a parchment. But do I have that same faith and that same trust that, God's going to answer my prayer?
The Nicolas de Champ church where she had that experience, I count that in top 10, maybe like even top 5 of prayer, like moments of prayer in my life where I felt very strongly a call, the call of God on my life. And it's one of those things where, I don't know, people talk about it, and I'm like, okay, you might say, I don't know, but the like sort of time slows down and everything fades in a sense, and you can just be in a deep quiet and intensity and unity, oneness, right, with God. And it really was something quite overwhelming to be in that space and to say, like, here's where our foundress had the vision of where I am, like what I'm doing right now. Like, that's insane that she saw something, and because of her fidelity to this kind of bizarre call that God had on her life, like, we are here today because of that moment. And that's just wild. That's just wild to me.
Well, and I think too, like, it kind of goes with the transfiguration, because I had such a profound moment when we all went for our walk. There's one day when we walked everywhere. Like, it was planes, trains, and automobiles. Like, we took the bus, we took the metro, we took our feet, and we went. I don't think we missed a spot where Vincent sneezed. Like, we went everywhere. But our time, we had 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here. And in my heart, I was like, I need more time in this space. I want to come back. And so our free day, I charted it and I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to St. Nicholas because I wanted to pray more in that space. And I went all the way there and it was locked.
No.
It wasn't open that day.
Stop it.
And no, I mean, this is my life. I get locked out of churches all the time. And it was like God saying, like, don't build your tent here. Why would you build a tent here? You got to go off the mountain, and it was definitely a providential moment. Like, God was saying, you had your moment in the church, now, go do good, go do my will. So yeah, it just reminded me, like, sometimes we want more of a good thing. We're like, oh, that wasn't enough. And then God's saying, it'll never be enough. So I'm going to lock the door so you could go do something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, I mean, I could tell you all kinds of crazy stories, but I think being there in this anniversary year of the Lumiere was such a grace and such a gift that I'm very thankful for.
Shout out to Sister Judith Mauser, who is
always shout out to Sister Judith. She took such good care of us. Yes.
A great a translator, but way more than translation and interpretation.
She took us with full confidence, all 20-something of us English speakers, through the Paris metro, like in busy rush hour time. Many of the sisters had never been on public transportation before. We had to put the magnetic tickets through and pick them up and run through the door before it shut on us. And I mean, she did it with such ease. I was over there like, come on, girls, come on. And Sister Judith is amazing. And again, just everybody at the Motherhouse took such good care of us that that really also made it so great.
So, yes. Talk a little bit about some of the presentations and some of the speakers, maybe if there was any that was interesting. I mean, for a 7 to 10 year vocation, that might be a little different than a standard Vincentian session, about history and about different pieces of, enculturation perhaps, or what's happening today. So anything specific that you felt like was geared towards your age and vocation group?
I think, yeah, definitely they, I think they catered it, to where we are in our vocation, especially Sister Francoise, addressed us, and then she shared what she shared with us to all the sisters in the world. But I was like, but it was, addressed to us, and that was a very profound, I guess, session, because it was very personal, and in the fact that we were there, and our English speaking breakout rooms were up kind of near where her office was, and so there were different times when. I was a secretary, so I was working on the computer, trying to get things organized for the next day so I wouldn't be so nervous. And I would see her going into her office, and it was just kind of neat to be in their space at the Motherhouse, in these letters that we get addressed to us to just like, because she spent time with us. She was in our sessions, and I just very personable and very present. And again, that was a great gift. But yeah, her presentations to us, and also our Director General, Father Jose Antonio Gonzalez Prieto.
He has a long name. Yep.
Yes, there's many names in it, and I apologize because I'm not good with names, even when I have it right in front of me. He gave our session we had one retreat day, and I had never met him before. He's from Spain, and he, I guess the gist of our session for the retreat was about being open to God's surprises. And I needed that message. I needed to hear that. I was, at a time of transition. I just left my ministry and my mission in Chicago, and I knew I was moving somewhere new after Paris. And, my personality is one. I like to be organized. I like to know what's happening. I like to be prepared. And, I won't tell you everything that I wrote down in my journal, but I really appreciated the intentionality for our retreat day, how we had that conference, and then we had this, unstructured time to do what we needed to do with it. And, I sat in the St. Catherine Garden and did some art and some journaling, and, just being able to have that space to let it sink in. And it was at the beginning of our session. So I really appreciated that too. Yeah, we had so many great speakers from all over the world, many different languages. Even the collaboration with DePaul International, and especially what ministries they were doing for folks who were homeless in the Paris area, to kind of hear just what the Vincentian family is doing together. I really appreciated that too. That was something different that surprised me. I was like, oh, this is something different. And it was very exciting to have that as part of our session as well.
One thing that springs to mind for me, because we work with, people who have had difficulties, people who've been through quite a lot, the vulnerable, low-income families, etc. And to have this kind of time to come away, to study, pray, be in an international setting, like, what a huge gift and a huge responsibility to do something with that information, to allow it to transform our inner life so that we can be better servants with the proper spirit that we're supposed to have as daughters of charity. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, your connections to our service, to the spirit that we need to have, so that this experience, you could talk about it years from now, like, oh, what a great time to go to Paris and have fun and like meet all these people. Yes, all of those things. Yes. And at the same time, what an inspiration and a shot in the arm to go to where you're going, to be where you are, and serve with dignity and respect to the people that you're going to come in contact with, whether that's you're going back to your same ministry or you're trying something new, or mission somewhere new.
Yeah, because it was a unique kind of month-long experience, because there wasn't, a lot of apostolic service, as part of it. And that's like the root and the core of who we are. Like that's to me how I integrate a lot of this. It's like, okay, you pray, you listen, and then, you encounter others. And so it was like a different kind of service when we were together, because none of us were doing our same ministries that we do at home. But we had like refectory duty. We had to, prepare the different parts for mass, and so like whatever you were asked to do, you did it with your everything, because that's what was asked of us. But there was, this longing, for service in the more, I guess, traditional way that we're used to. That one of the sisters, even on our off day, was like, is there a place where we can volunteer at a soup kitchen, and and it was very like, oh yeah, we're daughters of charity, we should totally do that. But then it was like, but is that what we're being asked to do right now in this session? And but yeah, now that I'm in a new place, and getting back into ministry, I think, yeah, I'm able to integrate it more in those other aspects of our lives. That it's not just something you experience in Paris; it's something you experience in your heart, and you bring that with you wherever you go. Because I didn't go back to Chicago in my ministry; I went somewhere brand new. So it's just been a journey ever since then, and I just continue to integrate and unpack it. So yeah, good question. I want to keep letting that question marinate, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as we're sort of wrapping up here, what are your thoughts or recommendations for young people in terms of, okay, you might never get a month off, to go and be visiting holy sites, but thoughts about pilgrimage, thoughts about taking that time to be away and get to know what the Lord is asking of you in your regular life. What would you say to young people, especially about having this kind of experience, whether that's in the United States at a pilgrimage site or across the pond?
I'm trying to think of different ways to answer that question. Yeah, I mean, you can have a pilgrimage experience anywhere you are. It's your awareness of God's presence and your response to that presence that makes it, pilgrimage and a journey that's ever deepening. But something that it's the relationships on the journey too that are very important. Like it's a very intimate experience with God, sure. Like we're deepening our vocation, and that's very personal. That is a call from God, but that call is not answered by yourself. We're not a bunch of hermits, women hermits, whatever they're called, hermitesses. We're women of community, and I think that is something that I'm grateful for, just the relationships that I've made with my sisters from all over the country, or all over the world, excuse me, from so many languages, and how, our hearts are one in the spirit, in the charism that, for young people who are kind of searching and, like, where do I need to go to have this like big mountaintop God moment, or I went to this one place and should I go back to it? It's like, well, it might be locked. I think God is calling you to give your all to what's in front of you and where you're called at that moment, and to pay attention to the people who are with you, and whether they're up late at night dancing with you, or we didn't even talk about the grand finale night, where I tell you, we got some talented sisters in this community, who could do a Saturday Night Lights life skit. It was amazing, the variety show that we put on for each other. That I'm so grateful for this experience and this pilgrimage of sorts, for what it has done for me personally, with my relationship with God, but also that relationship with God supported through my relationships with my sisters. And I think that's at the heart of the Daughters of Charity.
Amen to that. It's I think that really speaks to the gifts that we receive are not just for us. And we have been very, very blessed to be in community with folks who are dedicated to this life and to growing and to doing it together. So
Yes.
I am truly grateful for you, Sister Kara, and your presence, not just on the podcast today, but you being in the community, being on the team. It's a grace and a blessing to have you.
Yes. Well, I mean, this call it can be hard sometimes, and I think that part of our session was some sisters from the different who are participants, gave little brief testimonies of their service and their experiences in their countries. And I did mention it before, but I want to say now, like that, just the breadth of service, and just what we as Daughters of Charity are involved in, just was very inspiring, so that our service can be strengthened, and we can support our relationship with God, with each other, for service. And we were able to experience that at the Motherhouse.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You're the best. Appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thanks for the invitation. Yay!